We pity your pathetic dependence on this web video for your weekly news, but here we go anyway.
The operator of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant says it will start removing spent fuel on Monday from the number 4 reactor building. It's the first step Tokyo Electric Power Company will take toward decommissioning the crippled plant.
We decided to start removing fuel on November 18th.
The building contains more than 1,500 units of fuel rods. Most of them are used and highly radioactive. The fuel is stored in a pool of water which contains the radioactive particles. TEPCO workers will remove it and place it in radiation-proof containers. They'll then transfer them to another location on the plant's premises. The building was badly damaged by a hydrogen explosion in March 2011. So engineers built a steel structure equipped with a crane that will be used to remove the containers. They say the structure can resist earthquakes as strong as the one on March 11. TEPCO officials will start with the unused fuel as they consider it less difficult to handle. They plan to remove the remainder by the end of 2014. The next step will be to remove fuel from the other 3 reactor buildings.
As workers proceed with the decommissioning of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant, they're faced with a familiar problem: disposing of highly radioactive waste. Some Japanese lawmakers are setting up a group to tackle that issue and find a long-term solution to the country's nuclear waste dilemma. The move comes after former Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi called on Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to promptly end Japan's dependence on nuclear power. Koizumi cited difficulties associated with constructing disposal sites for highly radioactive waste. The new group will include the governing Liberal Democrats, members of ruling coalition partner New Komeito, and the opposition Democrats. The members plan to study how other countries manage the radioactive waste. They'll discuss a wide range of other issues, including the possibility of developing new technology. They also plan to look into ways to decide where disposal sites will be located.
Okay, well, you say there's no solution to the waste, but there is a solution to the waste, and the solution to the waste is to just leave it exactly where it is and to have somebody look at it for a million years, you know. So they just have to have all these zombies who are there at the moment sitting there doing nothing, who are going to just have to sit there, and their children are going to sit there, and their children's children and so on, looking at the waste and making sure that it doesn't leak out of the tanks. And if it starts to look like it's going to leak out of the tanks, they build another tank around that tank, and then they build another tank around the tank that they built around that tank, and so on, you know, to infinity. And that is a solution to the waste, because then the waste will just stay where it is now, and it won't get any worse. And if they make more waste, they'll have to put it inside that tank and leave it there. And as far as contaminated land is concerned, and places like Sellafield and all that, they'll just have to put a fence around it and say, this is contaminated land, do not enter. And so that's the best we can do. I mean, it doesn't help to put it down the hole in the ground. I mean, you may as well put it somewhere where you can keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't escape. So that's the solution.
And why not put a hole in the ground?
Ah, well, because then if something goes wrong, you can't do anything about it. That's the point.
And what could go wrong there?
Oh, God, well, loads of things could go wrong. I mean, the main thing that would go wrong is that it's a hole in the ground is not a secured depository, you know. I mean, you put it into a hole in the ground, and then there's a crack in the hole in the ground, or maybe there's an earthquake, or maybe there's a fault that you didn't know about, or maybe there's some water movement that changes over a period of time. And we're talking geological timescale, so, you know, just about everywhere where they've suggested putting it in a hole in the ground has had a geological fault occurring, you know, in the last 1,000 years. Never mind about, you know, the next million years or whatever it is it has for the half-life of these uraniums and plutoniums. So you can't actually guarantee that if you put it in a hole in the ground, something won't go wrong. And you can't pull it out of the hole in the ground. That's the point. I mean, the Forsmark idea is not one in which they put it down in the hole in the ground and then they can take it out if something goes wrong. They can't. They just pop it down and pop the next one down and pop the next one down and so on and send it all down there, and then they seal it all up. But if something goes wrong, then they can't do anything. Whereas if it's where it is at the moment, at Sellafield or wherever it is, above ground or in some kind of big hangar or big kind of area where they kind of look at it, then they can look at it, and if something goes wrong, and they've got all their detectors and their Geiger counters and whatnot, then they can just repackage it and put something around it.
But they have to sit there.
Yeah, they have to sit there forever, absolutely, yeah, sure. Well, it serves them right, isn't it? Shouldn't have made it in the first place. And I've no doubt they'll pay them a lot of money for sitting there. So yeah, they can sit there and I mean, maybe they should have special uniforms, like, you know, guard of the nuclear waste, and they could have like special kind of green uniforms with special badges like Superman or something, you know, and make them feel good. I've always thought it quite good to have special uniforms. In all the science fiction stories they did special uniforms, you know. So you could say, what's your daddy do? Oh, he's a guard of the nuclear waste. Oh, no. What a useful job, George. Yes, it is, isn't it?
Earlier, we talked exclusively to members of the decontamination team working at Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Japan. They've repeated earlier claims of bad management and lack of proper training, which they say is rendering the cleanup operation ineffective.
Two of the decontamination workers at Fukushima. They've taken a big risk being interviewed about their daily work. They say workers received no detailed training before starting the job and no advice. They're part of a team charged with removing radioactive pollution from residential areas. Polluted material is gathered in special plastic bags. But the workers say they were given no information on how to handle the material. Back in January, Japan's Asahi Shimbun newspaper reported that potentially contaminated soil, water and debris were being dumped into the environment instead of using proper storage facilities.
Sometimes we don't have enough plastic bags, so we find a place and dig a pit and throw all of the polluted soil into it before covering it up.
The level of radioactivity in the air close to the storage areas has been found to be 0.311 microsieverts per hour. That's about 2.7 millisieverts for a whole year. That surpasses Japan's official post-decontamination target of 1 millisievert per year. In this residential area, nearly 2.5 microsieverts per hour has been detected. The cause is found to be unsealed bags holding pollutants. The workers say they fear for their own safety and that of the whole team.
I used to have no idea if the water we used to wash our hands was polluted. I used to wash my hands before eating. I'm now wondering how much radioactive substances have gone into my body. Now I know the truth. I don't dare to wash my hands, even after using the toilet. The truth is astonishing.
The Japanese government pays an 11,700 yen daily wage, along with a 10,000 yen risk compensation package. But in reality that's been reduced by nearly 30%, with some contractors withholding part of the salaries for various reasons. The number of contractors on site varies from 2 to 8. Some contractors have been accused of operating like gangsters, keeping profits for themselves. There's strict regulation on media coverage of decontamination work in Fukushima. These revelations come at a time when Japan is trying to play down bad PR amid continuing reports of radiation leaks. Matt Stuttard, CCTV.
After Chernobyl we finally hear all kinds of cancer went up the next year. Hard to interpret, says OPCS. Can't understand it, well here is a guess. Low-level isotopes from the Ukraine drifted to Wales on the wind and the rain. Rainfall is higher in Bangor than Kent. Cancer in Wales is up 30%. We're breathing strontium, locking it into the structure of cellular DNA. And each beat a decay in an occasional, rather mutational way. Kills us. Even New Labour can see what it means. Radioisotopes alter your genes. Ghosts of dead babies will give them no rest till the dosimetry's been reassessed. Wombling, strombling, Bangor to Kent. telling the news of the second event, telling the story all into scenes, a radioisotopes alter your genes, nuclear establishment, castle of lies, children are dying in front of your eyes, born with no limbs, with 2 heads or no brain, born to a life of incurable pain, nuclear subsidies victims will pay, while you take a pension and tiptoe away. Don't reassure us, cause we always knew yours was a story too slick to be true. We're breathing strontium, locking it into the structure of cellular DNA, and each should be to decay in an occasional, rather mutational way. Kills us. Nobody's hiding these nuclear crooks. Government stooges aren't cooking the books. Only the mothers are guilty of crimes, bearing their children in nuclear times. Radioisotopes float around free, up in the atmosphere, up near the sea. So many diseases genetically linked, strontium bombs will soon be extinct, cause we're breathing strontium, locking it into the structure of cellular DNA, and each should be to decay in an occasional, rather mutational way. Kills us.
I'm watching bankers starve the world, and I'm watching illegal and unjust wars. I'm watching nuclear meltdowns and pollution, while the vast majority continue to snore. I'm watching the surveillance state be built, and I'm watching the march to World War III. I'm watching the sheep led to the slaughter, while we're sitting in front of the propaganda machine. Welcome to my alternate reality. Am I the only one taking this seriously? 'Cause I'm on this ball with its finger on self-destruct, but Jesus' blood is the only hope I've got. I'm watching perversions all over the net. Actually, I'm not, 'cause I don't wanna see. I'm watching a charade of politicians being controlled by secret societies.
Farmers in northern Fukushima prefecture are preparing dried persimmons. They say they will be selling it for the first time since voluntarily halting production after the 2011 nuclear crisis. They smoke the persimmons and dry them for about a month to make what's called ampogaki, which is known for its softness. The resumption of production comes after the radiation level of the persimmons before their processing was found to be within the government's safety limit.
I have eagerly awaited this. I am happy to be producing again with my colleagues.
The farmers plan to continue making the dried fruit until next month, when they'll check their safety and ship them to destinations around the country.
Congratulations, you have completed this video with flying colors. Please await your certificate and complimentary fruit basket in the mail before proceeding any further.